Welcome in. This is Chiefs Chase, and my name is Mike Bassano, and I am taking you on a journey as the Chiefs chase history, trying to become the first team ever in the NFL to win three Super Bowls in a row. We're talking about a three-peat in the NFL for the first time ever, and we are chronicling that chase every single week right here on the channel. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for your comments, your subscriptions, your likes, following me on Instagram, at Mike Bassano, all the things that you've done to get involved with this show. I very much appreciate you. I appreciate you if you've been listening since episode 1, or if this is your first episode. I can't tell you how important it is to me that you are taking your time to spend a little bit of your week with me and talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. And by God, do we have a lot to talk about today. Whoo! Tons to get to, including the Chiefs gobbling everybody up. They're finding free agents, making trades, and one major name has returned to the kingdom, Juju Smith-Schuster. Thank you so much for coming back, Juju, and I personally would like to apologize. A couple of weeks ago on this show, we brought up Juju Smith-Schuster because he was released by the New England Patriots, the worst roster in the NFL. And it was sort of the general consensus that he wasn't likely to get signed anywhere else before the season began. Now, I gave somewhat of a somber. I wasn't doing it in a disrespectful way at all. You can go back and watch it. It was a bit somber. I was very appreciative for what Juju Smith-Schuster had accomplished in his career and in Kansas City. The Chiefs do not beat the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl without Juju Smith-Schuster. That is an absolute fact. And I felt like, as many people thought, his knee hasn't really healed the way that it was supposed to. And to me, that's a sad story. He's a 27-year-old guy with a ton of talent and, by all accounts, seems like a good dude. So I was always rooting for Juju, and I felt bad that things didn't work out for him when he got the big contract in New England. I feel less bad today because Juju Smith-Schuster is back. He is back in Kansas City. He is back with the wide receiver core. It is stacked. We are going to get to that full wide receiver core coming up here in just a bit, and we'll break down the whole thing. But to stay focused on Juju, what he brings to the table is veteran leadership at a position where the Chiefs already have pretty stacked leadership. Rashee Rice isn't a veteran, but he was the number one guy last year almost by default, and he stepped into that situation very well. But Rashee Rice might be out with the suspension for some time this year. We don't know. We're still waiting to find out. Hollywood Brown, great guy, veteran leader, brought in. He's injured. We expect him back fairly early in the season, but that doesn't change the fact that the guy's injured. So bringing in Juju Smith-Schuster changes literally everything for the Kansas City Chiefs, in my mind, because it adds another major veteran piece to that offense. If you look at this thing top to bottom, man, Patrick Mahomes has some toys to play with this year. And we're going to get to that. We're going to get to the full spectrum. But Juju Smith-Schuster, I mean this with all the sincerity in my heart, I could not be happier for you. Welcome back to the kingdom. Welcome back to the Kansas City Chiefs. We are thrilled to have you on this team and thrilled to see what you can bring to the table this year. I know Matt Nagy fought for him, and I am damn glad that he did, because I am a big Juju Smith-Schuster guy. I couldn't be more excited to see what happens this year with him, man. I am so fired up about that. Now, the Connor Steele party is coming. That will happen on this show. This is a very pro-Connor Steele show. It has been from day one. We love the guy, and the party is coming because he did make the 53-man roster. We will get deep into that and how he will impact this team and his performance against the Chicago Bears coming up in a bit. And the Chiefs have also gotten rid of one major thorn in our side. Now we'll get to that as well in just a minute. But first, Juju Smith-Schuster is not the only new player the Chiefs have brought in. The Chiefs were able to get Cowboys tight end Peyton Hendershot. He's in. Cardinals linebacker Cameron Thomas got him for a 7th rounder. He's coming in as an edge rusher. All hands are on deck for this team. That's what I'm taking away from what the Chiefs are doing. All hands are on deck. This organization understands how incredibly important this season is for the legacy. Everybody wants it. Yeah, from Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Clark Hunt, all the way down to Sky Moore, who is still on the team. We'll get to it soon. But all hands are on deck, man. Every single person is needed. And if somebody's not pulling their weight, get them out. There is no time in this season for development. Other years, yeah, you can say, hey, this guy, we'll keep him on the roster. We'll give him a couple of years, see if he wants to come through. Maybe he develops a little bit, becomes a better player, and becomes a starter. Other years, that's totally fine. I'm 100% on board, and I get it. This year, get out of here. You need guys who can play, you need guys who can win, and you need them now. And that's what the Chiefs understand. That's what they're doing. They're going and getting the guys that they know can win this game now. And that's what we're seeing. I am so excited with the all-in approach of the Kansas City Chiefs this year. And it's not because the window's closing or because, how many years do we have left? Usually that's when you see an NFL team do what the Chiefs are doing right now. Usually when an NFL team feels like, we don't have a lot more time left in this window. Well, that's what they do. The Chiefs have a very large window. All their key players have signed extensions. Creed Humphrey, what up, though? All the key players. So the Chiefs are in great shape for the future. This is all about a unique situation that hasn't happened in the NFL for 20 years, says the New England Patriots. The 05 Patriots had a shot to three-peat. They didn't. Now the 2024 Chiefs have a chance to three-peat. And we get to watch that journey of the Chiefs going all in, all hands on deck. Now, one major change is happening across the NFL and in Kansas City that I find very interesting. We'll get to that in just a moment. But first, the Chiefs have gotten rid of a major thorn in everybody's side, Kadarius Toney. The reason I have such little sympathy for Kadarius Toney, most guys, when they get cut, I have a large amount of empathy for them. They're trying to do a job. They weren't good enough. That sucks. If you've ever been in a situation where you're just like, hey, you just didn't cut it, it's hard. I don't care if you're at the pro level or if you got cut from your little league team. It sucks. And when it's your livelihood or you're trying to make it your livelihood, it's even worse. So I always have a lot of empathy for guys. But Kadarius Toney has more talent than the vast majority of the NFL. This guy was a 20th overall draft pick, first rounder for the New York Giants, and then he got sent to the Chiefs the following year. And the Chiefs had some success with him because he's an incredible talent. He's an incredible athlete. I know for some people it just doesn't click, but I don't think Kadarius Toney is that person. I think Kadarius Toney has some things that he's doing. I'm not going to point out any specifics. Could just be laziness, could be other stuff. But something is stopping Kadarius Toney from putting in the time needed to be successful. And that happens a lot of the time with guys. The NFL, I've brought this up so much, and we won't have to bring it up as much now that Toney's gone. But if you stand in front of the jugs machine for 4 hours, you're going to get better at catching the ball. If you don't put in the time, you aren't going to get better. And when guys don't put in the time, they obviously don't put in the time, I'm not going to have a lot of empathy for them when they get cut. That's part of life. If you don't put in the time, you don't work hard at your job, you are not going to be able to keep your job. And that's the situation that Kadarius Toney is living with right now. And I think, in my mind, and yes, Toney's punt return in the Super Bowl against the Eagles, he wasn't all bad in Kansas City, absolutely. But last year was abysmal. And there was a moment last year for Kadarius Toney that I will never, ever, ever forget. Against the New England Patriots. The game was basically in the bag, right? I think Chiefs might have had a 2-score lead at the time, but it wasn't completely out of hand. The backups weren't in. Starters were still playing. And Mahomes threw the ball right across the middle, hit Toney in stride, right in the hands. Ball popped off the hands, intercepted. The way that Patrick Mahomes reacted to that told me that he didn't believe Kadarius Toney was doing everything he could to get better. Had Patrick Mahomes believed that Kadarius Toney was doing everything he could to improve as a football player, I can't imagine he reacts the way that he did after that interception against New England. He got his back after the 3 drop balls against the Detroit Lions that did, as an absolute fact, cost Kansas City that game. He got his back. Everybody got his back. But when it happened again against the New England Patriots, we saw the frustration from Patrick Mahomes. I can't imagine that a guy like Patrick Mahomes gets mad at somebody who he knows is doing their best. But if he knows he's not doing the right things, he's not putting in the time, he's not putting the above and beyond effort that it takes in order to play at a high enough level to compete for championships, well, then Patrick Mahomes is going to react the way that he did, getting extremely upset at Kadarius Toney and about Kadarius Toney to the coaches after that interception against New England. That moment told me a lot about that entire situation, and I am not at all shocked that Kadarius Toney is now gone from the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Kadarius Toney, gone. Let's look at the wide receivers who were kept. Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy. That's your big 3 right there. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your big 3. Rice, Brown, Worthy. That is a deadly trio. I'm talking about 1999 St. Louis Rams greatest show on turf, deadly trio. That would get me so fired up. Oh my God. Sorry, on to everybody else. We have Rice, Brown, Worthy, then Justin Watson, Mecole Hardman, Sky Moore. I understand all of these. I think there are others we would have liked to see. And now, of course, Juju Smith-Schuster. Sorry, I ran past Juju. So, I think I stand with a lot of other Chiefs fans when I say I don't get it. Sky Moore, why is he on the team? I don't get it. I remember his first year when he was trying to return punts, and it was like watching a Looney Tunes episode. Like he was trying to catch an anvil out there. The guy just couldn't catch a punt to save his life. And that's the thing. I don't understand this love affair that the Chiefs have with Sky Moore. Why this isn't the last straw. Why we haven't seen them move on from Sky. Because there are a lot of other guys that I think people would have liked to see. But the Chiefs went with Sky Moore. Maybe he surprises us. Right? Maybe we see a different guy. You know, maybe we see a guy that elevates. I don't know. But what I do know is that the Kansas City Chiefs are much more stacked at wide receiver than they were a year ago. And that, my friends, is very exciting. This, compared to last year, it's a totally different planet. Totally different planet of wide receivers. Last year, we were like, Kadarius Toney might be the number 1. Like, you have to remember that. Last year, going into the season, Kadarius Toney was the Chiefs' number 1 wide receiver. That's mortifying. And that's what Patrick Mahomes had to deal with every single week. Just dink dunk. We gotta slice them up the best we can with these guys that just aren't that good. Now, Rashee Rice elevated throughout the year and I thought became a very dynamic player who, if he plays most of the games this year, is set to have an explosive season. But going into last year, it was like, hey, let's see if Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore can be the guys. That's not this year. This is a completely different planet of wide receiver than what we saw a year ago. And that makes me so fired up, man. I got to tell you, I look at these guys and I think this has the potential to be the greatest offense we've ever seen in Kansas City. And that goes back to 2018, right? 2018 with Kareem Hunt at running back and And Tyreek Hill at wide receiver, Sammy Watson. I mean, that was a stacked team. You can go back to some of those Dick Vermeil teams in the 2000s. I don't think they were as good as the 2018 team. But we are back to a world where I think the Chiefs can be as good on offense as they were in 2018, and Patrick Mahomes might break Peyton Manning's single-season touchdown record of 55. Peyton Manning, you're on notice, pal. I'm telling you, you're on notice. With this wide receiver core, Patrick Mahomes is eyeing that 55 touchdowns. I know teams are going to give the Chiefs their best shot. I'm absolutely aware of that. But I'm also aware of the dynamic speed the Chiefs have this year that they have never had before. It should give you chills down your spine. Oh, let's get it. Let's get it, baby. All right, now the Chiefs have one major weakness this season, but help might have arrived to this weakness. I'll tell you what that is in just a moment. But first, Guardian helmets this year in the NFL. It's a big deal for the NFL. It's a big deal for the Chiefs. We're going to touch on it here as Alex Smith was at practice hanging out with his guy, Travis Kelce. Remember, Travis has a ton of 1,000-yard seasons in the NFL, and a lot of them were with Alex Smith. So they're pretty tight. And Alex had this to say about his helmet.
Melon looks so big with that thing on.
Dude, remember Little Giants? I can't see with this thing on!
I just like seeing Alex out there with the boys cutting it up, man. That just gets me fired up in and of itself because I love Alex Smith. I feel bad for what happened to his leg. If you've seen the photos, I won't put it up on the screen. You can Google them if you want to because it's pretty gnarly. His leg even today looks messed up. But, man, God bless him for trying to come back and play. All the respect ever to Alex Smith. And when Alex Smith came to Kansas City, this franchise was an absolute dumpster fire, a 2-14 joke, a laughingstock by every definition where everything that could have possibly gone wrong went wrong. I'm not even going to go into Javon Belcher. I don't want to. We're a positive podcast. But that year was atrocious. In comes Andy Reid. In comes Alex Smith. Thank you, Clark Hunt. Absolutely. Give Clark Hunt his flowers, man. Yeah, he got Scott Pioli. Well, Scott Pioli was the biggest name in the NFL when the Chiefs got him. Everybody wanted Scott Pioli. Didn't work out. Sometimes in business and in football, that happens. So what do? You go get Andy Reid. Andy Reid goes and gets Alex Smith. Suddenly the Chiefs are a competitor. You know, maybe not a Super Bowl contender right away, but a competitor going to the playoffs. And Alex Smith was a big part of that. So I'm a huge Alex Smith fan forever. And yes, the helmets, the Guardian helmets look corny. Yes, they do. It's going to take some getting used to, but they do provide more protection and they prevent concussions. I was actually thinking about this while I was looking at these helmets. And I was thinking, I wonder what the leather helmet guys thought when they introduced those plastic helmets with the pads on the inside. I bet the guys who had been playing with leather helmets for like 5 years were just like, psh, soft. Look at him with this plastic helmet. Look at him. Soft. Of course they were. Like, man, that looks stupid. Can't even see his face. Look at, he has a mask on his face. You can't even see it. He's hiding his face. He's scared. That's probably what the leather helmet guys were saying when they implemented the plastic helmets. You know it. You know it. Like, put yourself in the mindset of a guy that played with a leather helmet on. And I guarantee you, when they brought out those plastic helmets with the pads and the face and on the inside and the face mask on the front, the leather helmets guys probably thought that was the lamest shit that they've ever seen in their entire lives. It's like, God, the whole world's going to hell. Everybody's going soft. They want to wear face masks? You're supposed to break your teeth. You're supposed to break your nose. Every bone in your face is supposed to get shattered. That's part of the fun. The point is, it takes getting used to, but that's all right. I'm a fan of the Guardian helmets. I would wear one. I think pretty much everybody would. Now that we know the risks surrounding concussions, anything that can be done to stop significant brain damage while playing the game of football should be done. I would wear it. Some guys have come out and said they'll never wear it. That's fine. You don't have to. Man, it's not like it's protecting everyone else. It's for your own protection. And I frankly don't even think you're like a dumb guy if you don't use it. You don't have to use anything you don't want to use. I'm not in the government. I'm not going to tell you how to run your life. But I can say this. If I were in the NFL, I'd be wearing a Guardian helmet. Without question. I would. All right, now, we have a very special party to get to in just 1 second. But first, the Chiefs have one major weakness coming into this season. It's their defensive backfield. Just top to bottom. Losing L'Jarius Sneed is impactful. I know we can make all the excuses we want to, or not necessarily excuses, but we can rationalize it, right? We can rationalize L'Jarius Sneed not being in Kansas City. We can talk about how, well, we got this and that. L'Jarius Sneed being gone. And I saw his comments that he was sad that he was traded because he wanted to stay in Kansas City. Absolutely he did. But harsh reality. Money decisions have to be made. Trent McDuffie's a hell of a cornerback, one of the best in the NFL. Top 5, unquestionably. Top 5 in the NFL. So you have to make cuts where you have to make cuts. It's sad. I wish L'Jarius Sneed could be in Kansas City too. I wish that the Chiefs had George Steinbrenner's payroll from the Yankees. If we didn't have to worry about a salary cap and you could just keep everybody. But unfortunately, that's just not the way it is. So the Chiefs' defensive backfield has taken a step down. That said, I think there's one reason help might have arrived, because Jaden Hicks could change the game for Kansas City. A safety who can come in and make an immediate impact in this team is huge for the Chiefs, because the one worry everyone had, and I think it was the one thing that every pundit on NFL Network or whatever place you get your news, I watch NFL Network, but every pundit said if the Chiefs aren't going to three-peat, it will likely be because they have weaknesses in their defensive backfield. A 4th-round pick, Washington State, Jaden Hicks comes out of nowhere. I guess not technically out of nowhere, but out of the 4th round, you wouldn't expect a 4th-round guy to step in and explode unless, I guess, he's on Steve Spagnuolo's defense, because it seems to happen every damn year. But in normal terms, normal world terms, you don't expect a guy who's a 4th-round pick to come in and immediately make a very positive impact. It appears that Jaden Hicks has every single possible ability to make that happen. So I'd be very excited to see what Jaden Hicks can do for this team this year. And it could be the saving grace of this team. It's going to take everybody. It's going to take everybody to get to a three-peat. It's not going to be one guy or two guys. It's not, without this guy. It's going to be every single piece. Every team is going to give the Chiefs their best shot. Every week, the Chiefs will be playing in what will be their opponent's Super Bowl. You understand? When the Baltimore Ravens and the Chiefs face off on Thursday Night Football on September 5th, the number one thing everyone's going to talk about is, well, can the Chiefs three-peat? Who's going to knock them off? And everyone, collectively, across the entire NFL universe, will be rooting against the Chiefs every single week. Now, I know the Chiefs would rather have it that way. They don't want it any other way. They want to be the villain. They want to be the guys that everybody roots against while they win championships. Absolutely, they want to be that. Why wouldn't you? But it's really difficult. It's really, 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 really difficult when that's the thing you have to go up against. So every single aspect of the game has to be on point in order for the Chiefs to make this happen. And as much as I was worried about the Chiefs' backfield, defensive backfield, and as much as I've been concerned about that, it is undeniable that Jaden Hicks puts a big smile on my face because he can make that immediate impact that I believe the Chiefs will desperately need. It's time for the party. It's time for the party. The Carson Steele party. It's on, baby. Carson Steele makes the 53-man roster. And I think the most lovely thing about this is that all of Kansas City won't burn to the ground because Chiefs fans decided not to riot. It would have been riots in Raytown, brother. You would have never seen anything like what the Chiefs fans would have reacted if Carson Steele didn't make this team. But I think after his performance against the Bears, especially his 3 runs back to back to back, I don't think there was ever a question. Carson Steele is the type of running back that you want no matter what. He runs like a monster. He runs like Earl Campbell. He runs like Mike Allstott. He runs like Derrick Henry. And I'll tell you this, I won't tell you that Carson Steele can't be as good as Derrick Henry. I think he can be as good. And I know people will laugh at that. They'll call it crazy. But you know what? I was on 610 Sports Radio in Kansas City in 2018 before the season started. And everybody asked the question, how good can Patrick Mahomes be? And I got raked over the coals every day, every week on the morning show and on the afternoon show. They brought me in the afternoon so that I could defend my Patrick Mahomes take that I thought he could be as good as Tom Brady. I got raked over the coals for that by every person at the station, and they'd still probably stand behind that. But you know what? When you see somebody's skill set and you think he has the skill set to do it, does he have the coaching staff? Yes. Does he have the pieces around him? Yes. Does he have the drive and the work ethic to make it happen? Yes. You don't put a cap on that guy, whether it's Patrick Mahomes or it's Carson Steele. Yes, Patrick Mahomes and Carson Steele, basically the same guy. Carson Steele's stiff arm against the Bears was one of the coolest highlights of the preseason. And he consistently made some of the coolest highlights of the preseason. Now, I don't know that he's going to go rush for 6,000 yards or 2,000 yards or even 1,000 yards. But I do know that the Chiefs desperately need Carson Steele. The Chiefs, throughout the years in the Mahomes era, have struggled against physical defenses. The Tennessee Titans turn every single game into a street fight, and the Chiefs either barely win or barely lose. They ugly up the game. The Chiefs struggle when they're forced to play ugly football. See the AFC Championship last year against the Baltimore Ravens. If Carson Steele is in that game, it's a drastically different game because the Chiefs have a guy that they can run right down your goddamn throat. That's the difference that a Carson Steele brings. And if you don't understand that difference, that's fine. You just don't understand football. Because softening the interior of a defense is everything. Because it opens up the rest of the game. You understand what I'm saying? You can't play that shell coverage if you're getting blasted in the mouth over and over again. Pause. Getting blasted in the mouth. I'll stick with it. Blasted in the mouth by Carson Steele right up the middle. He'll soften that defense. You can't play certain coverages if you have to worry about a bruising running back that'll smack you in the mouth over and over again. Isaiah Pacheco has proven why that works. Because the difference of the last 2 years has been Isaiah Pacheco's running ability. It has. The offense doesn't sputter out anymore. Because if the pass isn't working, you go to the ground and pound, and then it works. And now it doesn't have to all fall on the shoulders of Isaiah Pacheco. You get Carson Steele in there and he starts running guys over, it demoralizes a defense. Carson Steele is a demoralizing runner. The guy he stiff-armed against the Chicago Bears, how do you think he feels this week? Seriously, ask yourself, emotionally, how do you think that guy feels? He got planted by Carson Steele. I don't even know if he made the team. Doesn't matter. He's having a bad week because that stiff arm is demoralizing. And if you can demoralize a defense, especially in the playoffs, my God, especially in the playoffs, when we're really going to need it, if you can demoralize a team like that, if you can demoralize a defense, you create an entirely new dynamic that the Chiefs have been missing. Now, I know Pacheco's added a lot of it, but Steele runs even more bruising. Pacheco can be more of an every down guy and a guy that you put in as a featured back. But if you want a bruiser who's going to soften the defense, Carson Steele is your man. Welcome to the 53-man roster, kid. Everyone, and I mean that, everyone in the Kansas City Chiefs kingdom is very lucky and very happy to have you. This has been Chiefs Chase. I am Mike Bassano. Thank you again for taking some time in your week to spend with me. I had a blast. I hope you had a blast too. Have a phenomenal week.